The Roman crowd arrived expecting nothing less than a triumphant start to Italy's World Cup campaign. But they were made to wait 77 minutes for the winning goal against Austria. Donadoni started it. Vialli made the crucial run, and Schillaci finished it off with a splendid header. Schillaci, the tough little striker from Sicily, was to finish top scorer in the tournament with 6 goals. This first one arriving only 3 minutes after he'd come on as a substitute. He hardly looked back. The USA were next to come to Rome with few supporters and even fewer hopes. However, Italy were finding it hard to kill off opponents, even though the solitary goal came early. Just 11 minutes before Giannini tiptoed past defenders to finish off with a match-winning shot. After this, the Italian crowd expected more, but the Americans defended better. However, it meant 2 wins in 2 games for Italy. All Italy was talking of Baggio when the match against Czechoslovakia began. It was the Juventus star's first World Cup start. But early on, it was against Schillaci who was causing most problems. And it was he, after 9 minutes, who scored Italy's opening goal, a header following that corner. But the crowd left the Olympic Stadium that night talking only of one thing: this remarkable goal coming up by Baggio. Just watch how he glides from deep, shimmying past defenders, and the ice-cool finish, to be followed by the inevitable white-hot celebrations. After this, Baggio mania swept Italy as they joyously replayed this goal from all angles. 3 qualifying games, 3 victories, as Italy advanced with confidence to the second phase. The flags were out in Florence meanwhile, and they turned out to be flags of victory for Czechoslovakia, who put 5 past the United States in their opening match there. The United States, however, had made good chances early on, and it was from deep in their own half that Czechoslovakia fashioned their first goal with a fine flowing move. Skuravu finished it off in style. That was after 25 minutes. 13 minutes later, a penalty gave Czechoslovakia the chance to make it 2. At first glance, it may have looked a tough decision. But the slow-motion replay more than gave the benefit of the doubt to the Swiss referee. And Bielek scored. Goal number 3 was a near-post header. The Czechs are renowned for it. The United States showed their naivety. Hasek the score. A minute later, the United States were down to 10 men when Ronaldo was sent off, but they then produced one of the World Cup's best individual goals. Caligiuri, the scorer, finishing of the highest order. There were few moments like this for the United States. But soon, normal service was resumed. And another header from a corner, this time Skuravi, his second. The fifth came in the final minute. The United States defence melting once more. Luhofi getting the final touch. 5-1 to Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia against Austria, decided by a penalty after 29 minutes. Pfeffer's back pass was short. Goalkeeper Lindenberger brought down Čovenek. Čovenek went off injured. And Bilek scored from the spot. The Czechs moved into the second phase. Austria, who came as dark horses for a lot of commentators, had a miserable World Cup. An unconvincing victory over the United States was their only result. But in beating the United States, Andreas Ogris at least provided the tournament with another of those Baggio-type individual goals. That, in truth, was the high point of the whole proceedings for Austria. Even though 14 minutes later, they scored again. Penetrating run by Streiter, finished off well by Rodax. Even so, there was a blight on the Austrian performance when 7 minutes from the end, Ramos turned the Austrian defence inside out. And Murray provided the final indignity for goalkeeper Lindenberg. The opening day had style. And with it, there was a surprise. In Milan, there was victory for Cameroon over the defending world champions Argentina. A wonderful climbing header by Oman Biyik. Another goalkeeper in trouble, this time Pompidou of Argentina. And the world audience rubbed its eyes in disbelief as Cameroon celebrated. It meant, of course, there was much for Maradona to do, and for Canigia too, if the damage was to be repaired in the later games. Maradona well to the fore against the Soviet Union in Naples. His clear handball not spotted by the referee kept out a certain Soviet goal, and Argentina then went ahead with a fine towering header from Troglio. One of the World Cup's most electrifying sights was Canigia in full flight. This run set up a second, somewhat untidy goal. The Soviet defence half waiting for the whistle for a free kick here. Not Burchaga, though. Argentina victorious, USSR agreed. Argentina were improving, but the Romanians were a match for them. However, Argentina led after 61 minutes with this header by Monzon. Only for Romania to equalise 6 minutes later. It was inevitable that Hagi would have a part in it somewhere. The number 10's back heel, Lakatos down the right. Sabo headed it back for Balint to finish it off. But Argentina qualified for the second phase. Romanian supporters, with their newfound freedom, were in Bari for the match against the USSR. And they were not disappointed when 5 minutes before half-time, a piercing run by Lakatos ended with an emphatic opening goal. Nine minutes into the second half, Lakatos again. But did Kidiatulin handle inside or outside the penalty area? The Uruguayan referee gave a penalty, but a replay shows that it may have been outside. However, Lakatos ended the debate by planting the ball firmly wide of Daseyev. Romania won 2-0. Cameroon had a great team spirit, a good technique, and they had Roger Miller. The 38-year-old super sub came on for the last half hour against Romania in Bari and turned the game. That was his first goal with 12 minutes left. This was his second 3 minutes from the end. The finishing work of a master craftsman. And Cameroon now lead by 2-0. But there was still time for Balint to pull one back for Romania. A hint of offside, perhaps. They were beaten, but still the Romanians qualified for the second phase. The only time Cameroon were embarrassed and soundly beaten was against the USSR in Bari. 4-0 the score, indeed the only game when the USSR played to their potential, Protasov scoring their opening goal after 20 minutes. Alenikov went round goalkeeper Nkono 9 minutes later. The ball rebounding from the crossbar, obligingly for Zigmantovic. And that made it 2-0. By now, Cameroon were beginning to fall apart. Witness the space early in the second half for Zavarov to add a third goal. And the fourth was not long coming either. A long cross, and Dobrovolsky finds the space between Nkono and the post. However, Cameroon qualified, USSR did not. Brazil bring with them to every World Cup a special flavour, a special sound, a special talent, and some thought this time a special team. And that seemed to be confirmed in their opening game in Turin against Sweden. Just look at Branco's pass and Carreca's majestic finish. A wonderful swerve that left the Swedish goalkeeper Ravelli for dead. That was 5 minutes before half-time. 17 minutes after it, Carreca scored again, taking the pass from Muller. A perfect pass, perfect finish. But Brazilian football often has a brittle edge to it. And so it proved when the Swedes, now playing their best football of the match, scored with 12 minutes left. Stromberg's cross from the right. Eventually it reached Brolin, he outwitted Ricardo, but Brazil conceded no more. Next, Brazil faced Costa Rica in Turin. A formality, surely. Manager Lazzaroni picked a curiously cautious Brazilian team, and chances were few. The only goal came after 33 minutes, and it always seemed likely to come from a set piece. That corner went across the field. Next came a long throw, and from it, an untidy goal by Muller. But 2 more points for Brazil. Muller the scorer. Brazil won 1-0. Brazil against Scotland also in Turin. A win would leave Brazil top of the group. A draw might be enough to see Scotland through. For 81 minutes, the Scots held on. Then a fierce drive by Alameo. Was only parried by Leighton. In went Carreca. Muller finished it off. Scotland were out. It was tough for Leighton. He'd kept well earlier in the game. The killer touch from Muller. But overall, Brazil once again had failed to convince. Even so, Scottish fans still found something to celebrate, though in truth, it had been a confusing World Cup for them once again. Their undoing was surely in their opening game against Costa Rica in Genoa. Scotland made chances, took none of them. Then after a fine flowing movement 4 minutes into the second half, Costa Rica accomplished the unthinkable. They scored. The passing movement is worthy of a winning goal. But the X factor is a cheeky back heel by Yara. It left Kayasa with the scoring opportunity. The back heel that outwitted Scotland, the goal that made life so hard for them in Italia 90. Scotland needed to repair the damage against Sweden, also in Genoa, and they produced a fine performance to do it. Good work by Robert Fleck on the right led to a corner. And Stuart McCall was able to force the ball home from close range. That was after just 10 minutes. Roy Aitken proved an excellent captain for Scotland through all their ups and downs in this tournament. And with 9 minutes left, his positive move opened up the way for a penalty. And there was little doubt about it. Ravelli saved the shot. The penalty awarded for the foul there. Now the focus moved to Mo Johnston, who now had the opportunity of making the game safe for Scotland. That was goal number 2. But it wouldn't be Scotland without them seeking to make their supporters' hearts beat just a little faster. And with 5 minutes still remaining, Stromberg beat all comers in thought and deed to make it 2-1. But Scotland held on for 2 points. Clumsy play and a curious free kick gave Sweden an early chance against Costa Rica. Free kick awarded just outside the penalty area. The wall lined up. A fine save by Caneo from Swartz's free kick. But Ekstrom pounced to finish it off. After this, nothing went right for Sweden. However, they held their lead until 15 minutes from the end. Little argument about the award of a free kick there, particularly when you see it again in slow motion. So this was a chance for Costa Rica. Gonzalez took the free kick. The header by Flores had style. Sweden, it was becoming the old familiar story. And with 2 minutes left, Medford, on as a substitute, was able to race through the Swedish defence to enable Costa Rica to score an improbable victory and force Sweden to go home with 3 defeats behind them. The West Germans, most people's favourites, superbly led by Mateus, a team without a flaw. Their first match was against Yugoslavia in Milan. It was not long before Mateus made his mark, with a stunning goal after 28 minutes. He turned the Yugoslav defender superbly and crashed the ball past Ivkovic for the opening goal. So many penetrating German moves started in this World Cup from Bremer down the left-hand side. And that's where the second goal came from, a wonderful flying header by Klinsmann. There was brief respite for Yugoslavia with a headed goal by Josic early in the second half. But all thoughts of a revival were killed by a third German goal, possibly the best of the whole World Cup, by Mateus. As this Yugoslav move broke down, he eventually took possession well inside his own half. And there was no stopping him now, with a crashing shot that finished it off. It was left to Bremer to set up the fourth. A fumble by Ivkovic. And Voller followed it in. It was his goal, West Germany's match, and a warning for all comers in Italia 90. It was a wet night in Milan when the Germans faced the United Arab Emirates. Thunder and lightning too. But not until 35 minutes had passed did the floods begin to engulf the Emirates. Klinsmann in for Voller. And they were beginning to look a formidable striking pair. A minute later, a cross by Reuter. This time it was Klinsmann's turn. Right at the start of the second half, a rare mistake in the West German defence. Khalid Ibrahim Mubarak was in. 2-1. The German defence had been shuffled at half-time. Reuter had been moved to central defence. A badly misjudged bounce. But would this unsettle the Germans? Their answer was swift. Voller to Bremer. Musaba punched it out, parried that one brilliantly. But eventually the ball would come once again to Mateus. The finish was perfect. And Germany had scored their third goal. Litbarski, who had come on as a substitute, had a hand in the fourth, scored with power by Bine. And Voller was credited with the final one 15 minutes from the end, although, truth to tell, the replay suggested it should have been an own goal. What is beyond debate, 5-1 to West Germany, 9 goals in their first 2 games. All the action in West Germany's match against Colombia was confined to the final 2 minutes. The Colombians were in defiant mood, but after 88 minutes, a determined run by Voller released Litbarski, a great shot into the roof of the net. What resistance the Colombians now showed. They needed a point to qualify, and in the final seconds they got it. Valderrama in the forefront again. What a great pass for Rincon to tuck the ball between the legs of Ildner. 1-1. Colombia scored an important victory over the United Arab Emirates in Bologna, and laid the foundation with a splendidly worked goal 5 minutes into the second half. It followed that corner. The Emirate defence sprang forward looking for offside. But Alvarez outwitted the offside trap. His perfect cross met powerfully with a header by Reddin. And that goal was followed by a fantastic second one by Valderrama 5 minutes from the end. It crowned Colombia's display. Valderrama, much more than an extravagant hairstyle, his passing was superb, his control too, and he showed there that he got a shot. And that made quite short of a 2-0 victory for Colombia. Still in Bologna, the Yugoslavs were beginning to recover from their first match hammering by the West Germans, but it took a wonderful goal to beat Colombia 1-0. It came after 73 minutes, a copybook chest trap and volley by Josic. It really was a superlative piece of finishing, whichever way you looked at it. Now Yugoslavia needed victory over the United Arab Emirates to qualify, and 2 goals in the opening 8 minutes calmed their nerves. The first was a header by Susic. The second came after indecisive defending by the Emirates. And Panchev made it 2. And that was the second fastest goal of the tournament. To their credit, though, the Emirates responded pluckily and with plenty of skill. And they were rewarded after 21 minutes with a great header by Juma. Panchev soon cracked in his second to make it 3-1 for Yugoslavia. And on the stroke of time, Prosinecki, a young player they thought would be the rising star of this World Cup, made it 4-1. South Korean fans had plenty to say. Sadly, their team was beaten in all 3 qualifying games. The first was against Belgium in Verona. Even so, it was 51 minutes before the Belgians could find a way through. A hearty lob by De Griese. It produced philosophical looks from the South Koreans. And it was certainly a goal that calmed Belgian fears. Followed by another 11 minutes later. Poor clearance out of the South Korean defence fell to fullback De Wolf, and he returned it with considerable interest. Belgium against Uruguay in Verona was one of the best games of the tournament, not least in the quality of the goals it produced. Belgium scored the first, a fine cross by De Wolf, and a crushing header by Kleisters. Belgium made all the early running, some excellent crisp passing, and in their number 10 Schifo, the mastermind in midfield. And it was Schifo who scored a blistering second goal, 2 up in 21 minutes. Schifo establishing himself already as one of the outstanding midfield players in the 1990 World Cup. But before half-time, Belgium had fullback Gerrit sent off, a second yellow card, and they could have been in trouble. But the veteran Curlemans chose this first minute of the second half to score one of his most memorable goals. A splendid goal that put Belgium 3-0 ahead and out of reach. However, Uruguay continued to attack, and after 71 minutes, they scored a well-taken goal. It followed that corner, and when the ball was crossed back in, Ben Kachia scored with a well-placed volley. in spite of this, Belgium won 3-1. Quickly to Belgium, now in white, against Spain. Spain won a penalty after 26 minutes when Salinas was brought down by goalkeeper Prudhomme. There was no doubt about that decision. And Michel, a prolific scorer, was given the responsibility from the spot. He scored to put Spain ahead. Although Prudhomme in the Belgian goal guessed right and almost made it. Belgium was sorely weakened by injuries, but they equalised 3 minutes later. Schifo, on another of his silky, threatening runs, was brought down. The question was whether he would take the free kick himself. But it was Vervoort who stepped up, who pierced the Spanish wall and put Belgium level at 1-1. But before half-time, Spain were in front again, with Belgium showing little of the fire and commitment that had made them look so dangerous in their earlier games. They conceded the free kick out by the corner flag. And from it, Goles scored with a beautifully judged and angled header. Belgium's Schifo later missed a penalty, so Spain won by 2-1. In Udine, Spain's Michel scored a spectacular hat-trick against South Korea. We've seen the Spaniards' victory over Belgium. They also drew 0-0 with Uruguay. Michel's first strike came after 23 minutes. Villarroya made the cross. Michel provided the volley. Stand by now, though, for a blistering reply from South Korea. A free kick by Kwan from fully 30 yards that threatened to break the Spanish net. Hit with such power, it's amazing it actually seemed to swerve away from Zubizarreta. No wonder manager Luis Suarez of Spain had the look of some concern on that worldly face of his. But soon Michel was back in action again with a free kick of his own. Just watch that number 21. Curled to perfection, over the wall and in. With 10 minutes left, Spain, so often accused of never relating as a national team to the successes of their top club sides, they sealed the match. And again, Michel was the man to watch. South Korea unable to clear to safety. And Michel's nimble footwork and icy brain brought goal number 3. Spain won 3-1. Michel became the first player of the 1990 World Cup to score a hat-trick. Possibly a touch of offside about that one, but Spain reached the second phase. penalty shootouts that were to come later, few finishes had more drama to them than the one between Uruguay and South Korea in Udine, where Uruguay needed a win to qualify for the second phase and was still being held 0-0 well into injury time at the end of the game. The desperate Uruguayans, seconds away from going home in disgrace, were awarded the free kick. The substitute Fonseca met it, and suddenly they were safe. Uruguay had attacked for much of the game, had hit the post after only 40 seconds, but had to wait in agony until this last gasp lifesaver. Reactions on and off the field made it clear just what that meant. In Cagliari, England and the Republic of Ireland played a dull, featureless 1-1 draw. Both managers, though, professed themselves satisfied. England's start was a good one. Chris Waddle's cross from the touchline bounced favourably for Gary Lineker, and with 8 minutes of their World Cup gone, England were ahead. Lineker, top scorer with 6 in the 1986 World Cup in Mexico, had quickly made his intentions clear once more. The Republic of Ireland's second-half equaliser came from Kevin Sheedy. A marginal mistake in control by Steve McMahon just on as a substitute, and Sheedy swept the ball past Peter Shilton and was swamped in green. A half mistake, heavily punished, 1-1 the final score. England went goalless, but were more impressive against Holland, and then needed a win, or at the least a point, against Egypt to qualify. Des Walker was injured, but from the free kick, Paul Gascoigne floated the ball beautifully to the head of defender Mark Wright. It was Wright's first goal for England, but it was priceless because it put England into phase 2. Egypt lined up against Holland in Palermo, the Egyptians with excellent technique, an indication of the great strides being made by the African nations. And indeed, not until 58 minutes did Holland find a way through. A Van Basten cross, a Rijkaard dummy, and Keefe scores an excellent goal. And with Gullit still not fully fit after a season of knee trouble, Holland needed that encouragement badly. But with 8 minutes left, they conceded a penalty. Sam Hassan was brought down. The question now was, would Abdul Ghani have the nerve to give Egypt the draw they deserved? It was the perfect penalty. It finished 1-1. Gullit's one genuine moment of class came in Holland's match against the Republic of Ireland. That was more like the Gullit of 1988, and one that Holland needed so badly to see plenty of. But just as one of their top players hit true form, so another lost it for a moment. Goalkeeper Hans van Breukelen. Fumble that was quite out of character. Niall Quinn stepped in. That was 1-1. 3 successive draws for Holland. They and the Republic of Ireland went through. Our first match in the second phase showed the continuing advance of Cameroon, here against Colombia in Naples. No goals in 90 minutes, and then we saw again the razor finishing of Roger Milla with 2 in extra time. First, a simple pass by number 7, Oman Biyik. Then what looked a simple skip past one defender and a ferocious shot to put Cameroon ahead. To be followed, of course, by that copyright of Miller's, the jig at the corner flag. The 38-year-old's brain, the 25-year-old's legs. 2 minutes later, Miller scored again. Higuita in the Colombian goal is a keeper who lives on a knife edge. He's an exhibitionist, a great taker of risks. But it was only a matter of time before he would get his comeuppance, and it happened here. To be fair, the pass he received back was a dangerous one. Miller dispossessed him. Higuita a red face. Miller another goal. And another dance. Colombia pulled one back 8 minutes later. Again, it followed good work by Valderrama. A short pass, perfectly timed, and Redin finished it off. But it was too late for Colombia. They had paid for the extravagance of Higuita, and against all the odds, Cameroon were in the quarter-finals. Colombia scored here, but Miller, meantime, had taken his goals total to 4. The end of Costa Rica's World Cup romance came in Bari, when they ran up against Czechoslovakia and, above all, Thomas Skuravi. He scored a hat-trick in a 4-1 victory. Only 11 minutes had gone when the Czechs, raiding down the right, eventually got the ball to the predominantly left-footed Moravcik. And his cross was headed home firmly by Skuravi. That was the only goal of the first half, but 11 minutes into the second, Costa Rica scored a surprise, but very good equalising goal. Marchena's free kick, headed in by Gonzalez, and for a moment it seemed that marking had gone out of fashion in the Czech defence. What can only be called over-elaboration in the Costa Rica defence becomes expensive 6 minutes later. Eventually, after what was something approaching head tennis on the training ground, Skuravi scored his second. A third was soon to follow as Czechoslovakia turned up the heat. Asik was brought down by Marchena. It earned Marchena a yellow card. And in a World Cup already replete with eye-catching free kicks, Kubik now added another. A glorious free kick, inch perfect. And 5 minutes later, a milestone for Skuravi. From this corner, he completed his hat-trick. It required a special stage for the great South American confrontation between Brazil and Argentina. In Turin, Brazil did everything but score, but with 8 minutes left, Argentina showed them how to do it. Maradona set off, the perfect pass to the swift Caniggia, round goalkeeper Taffarel, the winning goal. For Maradona, it was perhaps the one moment in the whole tournament when he was true to his own amazing skills. And Caniggia did the rest. Muller would later miss a glaring chance to equalise for Brazil, but it was Argentina with this one crucial break who took their place in the quarter-finals, and Brazil went home. A full house in Milan for West Germany against Holland. 74,000 fans had already seen Voller and Rijkaard sent off in the first half, when 5 minutes into the second, defender Buchwald set off. He found a great cross, and Klinsmann made it 1-0 to West Germany. Buchwald would also play a part in the second goal, 6 minutes from time. Short pass for Bremer, and a wicked curling shot beyond Van Breukelen from the fullback put West Germany well clear. Two minutes from time, Van Basten tumbled. Köhler was adjudged to have conceded the penalty, although many thought that it was a harsh decision. However, Koeman scores. Holland, though, have been a big disappointment. West Germany's World Cup march continued. The first penalty shootout of this World Cup came in Genoa when the Republic of Ireland and Romania finished 0-0 after extra time. By now, many Italians felt that fate was drawing them inevitably to the World Cup final itself. Many also worried that a second phase match against Uruguay might be as difficult as it was sure to be intimidating. Schillaci had an emphatic answer for all the doubters. Just watch for the delicate touch of Serena. That opened up the chance for only a split second. It took a genuine striker to see it, Toto Schillaci. It was Serena's 30th birthday, and 8 minutes from the end he was given the chance to celebrate and put Italy into the quarter-finals. It was a foul on Viechevod. Giannini's free kick, Serena's header, and Italy advanced. Yugoslavia also took their place in the quarter-finals after a late dramatic victory over Spain in Verona. Stojkovic, their superb midfield player, scoring both goals. 77 minutes, Vojovic, excellent work down the left, Katanec a touch, Stojkovic threaded it neatly past Zubizarreta. A World Cup that was throwing up such quality midfield players, Hagi of Romania, Schifo of Belgium, Mateus, of course, of West Germany, and now Stojkovic. But Spain responded well. They had claims for a penalty turned down, but with only 7 minutes remaining, another determined break was more successful. Tenacious work by Martin Vasquez in particular. Salinas on the spot to finish it off. However, Stojkovic had not finished yet. Extra time was but 2 minutes old when he struck again. A foul by Roberto on Savicevic earned the Spaniard a yellow card, the Yugoslavs a free kick. Up steps Stojkovic once more to provide one more example in this World Cup of the classic free kick. Over the Spanish wall past Zubizarreta, Yugoslavia in the quarter-finals for the first time in 16 years. Meanwhile, what of England? They faced Belgium in Bologna, a match seconds away from a penalty shootout at the end of extra time when Paul Gascoigne, now becoming a central figure in England's advance, was fouled by Eric Gerrit some 30 yards out. Gascoigne himself lined up the free kick, urged by management on the bench to float it deep into the Belgian penalty area. Gascoigne achieved that to perfection, matched only by the quality of Platt's spectacular volley. The Belgians were nonplussed. Throughout the night, they had made the better chances, but two of England's emerging young players silenced all the arguments. There was another penalty shootout to decide the quarter-final between Argentina and Yugoslavia in Florence. They were also 0-0 after extra time. Also in the quarter-finals, the Irish came in force to Rome for the continuing fairy tale of Big Jack Charlton and his giant killers. But here the story was finished by one flowing move and one telling strike by Italy. The Irish were not disgraced, but after 37 minutes, first Giannini, then Baggio, and eventually it'll be Donadoni. And his ferocious shot only parried by Bonner, leaving the Irish at the mercy of Schillaci. Schillaci's goals so far had been mostly as explosive as they'd been timely. This was the other side of Schillaci, a second to sum it all up, the perfect angle to show a ball threaded just inside the far post. Lothar Matthäus, meantime, took the West Germans into their quarter-final against Czechoslovakia in Milan. He and Franz Beckenbauer, the manager, already looked a winning combination. The West Germans were without Voller, suspended, and leaned heavily on the attacking strength of Klinsmann, and after 24 minutes, a forceful run by him into the Czech penalty area produced a penalty from which came the only goal of the game. A tangle of legs, the Austrian referee decided it was a foul by Straka. So Matthäus was asked once more to show his steely nerve. This time against Stejskal in the Czech goal. The captain's nerve held, and the West Germans moved with even greater menace into the semi-finals. In Naples, Cameroon faced England in one of the most entertaining matches of the whole tournament, a real switchback affair. Cameroon's growing reputation demanded respect, and England were grateful for getting in the first blow. Stuart Pearce on another buccaneering run. David Platt, the saviour against Belgium, with a header. The fullback's cross spot on, the downward header by Platt straight from all the training manuals. At half-time, Cameroon again played their trump. 38-year-old Roger Miller came on. His run, a rash challenge by Gascoigne, a penalty. And little doubt that it was a penalty. Miller had cast his spell once more. And Koundé was left to step up to equalise for Cameroon and send quivers through the English ranks. With some justification. 3 minutes later, Ekeke, number 11, who'd just come on as a substitute, started this move. A fine touch once more from Miller. A skillful chip over Shilton, and Cameroon were ahead. Little for England to argue about. All night, Cameroon had made good chances. Neutrals would say they now deserved their lead. England looked ragged and lost. It was hard to see how they could save themselves, until with only 8 minutes of normal time left, they too were awarded a penalty. Lineker upended, and although Cameroon argued, there seemed little basis for discussion. Except perhaps how Lineker would react to perhaps the most important moment of his England career. His answer was strong and positive. A second penalty in extra time provided England with a winner. A classic pass from midfield by Gascoigne into the path of Lineker, a Cameroon assault. Again, no doubt about the penalty award. So as a result of that challenge, Lineker was asked once more to go through the fires of penalty taking. His eye and aim was sure. And for the first time in 24 years, and the first time ever abroad, England reached the semi-finals of the World Cup. Italy looked with confidence towards Schillaci in their semi-final against Argentina in Naples. The nation had one finger already on its motor horns, a night of celebration in the offing. And particularly so with only 17 minutes gone, there was the now familiar sight of Schillaci wheeling away in triumph. Schillaci started the move there. And when Vialli's close-range shot rebounds off Gourcuccia, Schillaci's predatory instincts made sure that Italy got that important goal. Schillaci received scant recognition before this World Cup. Now he was already the tournament's joint leading scorer as he notched up goal number 5. In the second half, for Italians, the unthinkable happened. Italy conceded their first goal in these finals. Maradona was at the heart of it. It was the gentle pass by him to Gourcuccia over on the left. His cross flicked past goalkeeper Zenga by Caniggia. So Caniggia, just as he had been against Brazil, the man Maradona insisted should be in the side, brought Italy's charge to a halt, and the match went to penalties. Over the years, England and West Germany have become old World Cup enemies. Classic matches in the 1966 final, for example, and the 1970 quarter-final. In its way, this matched them. England played their best football of the World Cup in this game, but they went behind 14 minutes into the second half. Stuart Pearce was punished for this foul on Hessler. But England were unfortunate when Bremer's kick reared up off the attacking Paul Parker and proceeded to loop beyond Peter Shilton into the net. So West Germany led 1-0. And it was a lead they held until 10 minutes from the end of normal time. Paul Parker's long cross bounced off Köhler, fell conveniently for Lineker's left foot, and England were level. It was Lineker's 4th goal of the World Cup to add to the 6 he scored in Mexico, and it ensured that this semi-final too would be decided on penalties. Consolation, if that's what it was found for England and Italy in a match for 3rd and 4th place in Bari. It was Peter Shilton's last international. Sadly, a man who performed with distinction throughout this tournament, and for the most part since his debut in 1970, was left with an embarrassed finale. His concentration wavered there for a moment. Schillaci and Baggio took full advantage, and Baggio scored for Italy. Steve McMahon's back pass, Shilton for once unaware of everything around him. Schillaci sneaked in. Support from Baggio. England were a goal down. But not for the first time, Bobby Robson's men rallied with spirit. And with 10 minutes remaining, left fullback Tony Dorigo's cross opened up another chance for David Platt. A commanding header past Zenga, 1-1. So Platt, with goals against Belgium, Cameroon and now Italy, established as one of England's players for the future. However, 4 minutes later, Italy regained their lead. Paul Parker adjudged to have fouled Schillaci just inside the penalty area. The penalty awarded, and the Italians decide to give Schillaci the chance of another goal that'll take him to a total of 6, with the opportunity of finishing the World Cup's top scorer. Schillaci obliged, Italy finished 3rd, and England 4th. So the Eternal City awaited the final of the 1990 World Cup, Argentina against West Germany. In truth, it turned out to be a final best forgotten. The lack of quality in the play, and indeed in the refereeing, and it was appropriate that it should be decided by a solitary penalty. That came 6 minutes from the end. Voller brought down by Sensini. It was a decision that will be fiercely debated. But Andreas Bremer, who'd had such a fine tournament, was given the responsibility of taking the kick. His goal ensured that West Germany finished as winners of the 1990 World Cup. ...115 goals in the 1990 World Cup. Top individual scorer with 6, Italy's Todos Schillaci.
Le regole del gioco, ma voglio viverla così questa avventura, senza frontiere, con il cuore in gola. Il mondo
in una giostra di colori. E il vento accarezza le bandiere.
Arriva un brivido e ti trascina via e sciogli in un abbraccio la follia.